Hey guys, am I audible? Nice. Hi Varun, how you doing, man? So let's start with the topic, and if people join in, it's good. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about tools and frameworks about for front-end development. Correct. So before moving forward today with the topic, let me introduce myself. My name is Dhawal Deshpande. I have like 13 years of experience in IT domain now, and I have been working with organizations like TechM, Amazon, Ziff Davis, etc. And apart from that, I have also 6 years of experience in. Hello, guys. Am I audible? Okay. So sorry. So I was talking about my experience. I have like 13 years of experience in IT domain, and also now I have like 6 years of experience as a tutor. Apart from this, I am working on my educational technology startup, which is known as Codigo Aldea, in which we are providing IT training, project development, software skills training, placements, assistance, etc. So that's about me. So for more information about my startup, or if you have like any questions related to it, you can connect with us on our website, social media handles, or our Discord server. Links are given in the description below. So now, moving forward, so now coming to today's topic, that is tools and frameworks for front end development. But before we move into or dive into tools and frameworks, let's understand what exactly front end is. So if we say like fr- uh, front end in layman terms, it is the visual part of the website, whatever we see and interact with on the website. Correct. However, when we speak in a technical perspective, front end development is the practice of laying out a graphical interface using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript so that user can view and interact with that rendered page easily. To understand this better, let us talk more about it. So, we as a front end developer, what we do is we try to create or produce an attractive but easy to understand UI. UI is user interface for the website. So, when the user visit the website, he or she find the interface intuitive or pleasing and understand it with an ease. So, there are two important thing that we keep in mind while working on front end development. That is a very easy and intuitive interface, and also we try to make the website as easy as possible that a layman can understand it just by viewing, right? So these this was the basic understanding of front end. If you feel like you can add something to it, please feel free to put it into the chat or Discord. I'll be happy to understand your point of view on front end development. Correct. So moving forward, as right now we have a fair picture of what front end exactly is, let us go through a few technologies and scripts which are used in front end development process. Right. So moving forward, there are four basic technologies that we are going to understand. That is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and web development. WebAssembly. So when we say HTML, HTML actually stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is the backbone of any website development process, without which a web page does not exist. Second important or basic technology for web development is CSS, which is cascading style sheets. They actually controls the presentation aspect of the site and allow your site to have its own unique look. Third technology is JavaScript. So basically JavaScript is an event-based imperative programming language that is used to transform a static HTML page into a dynamic interface. Correct? So moving forward, the last technology or the last basic technology that a developer should understand is WebAssembly. So basically it is only an alternative to JavaScript for running code in web browser without help of plugins such as Flash, Java, Silverlight, all being discontinued as browsers are dropping plugin supports. So these are the four basic things that we are going to discuss, not exactly discuss, but see an overview about, right? So moving forward, about the tools and frameworks, let's see what all tools and frameworks that we are going to understand today. So initially we are going to discuss about HTML, some overview about it, then we'll be moving to CSS. Next, in CSS there will be 5 frameworks, namely Bootstrap, Foundation, Bulma, UIKit, and Semantic UI. Moving forward, we will be looking into JavaScript, a basic understanding what exactly JavaScript is, how we can use it in web development, how it interact with HTML, etc. And while understanding that, we will also see 5 more framework, that is JavaScript frameworks, namely React.js, AngularJS, Vue.js, Ember.js, and Backbone.js. Then we'll be looking into editors. These are the basic tools that we use while writing our script or our code. So in editor we will be looking into 2 open source code editors, that is Atom and VS Code. Correct? So moving forward from here, let's start the topic with HTML. Right? This is the first technology that we are going to understand. Correct? And let's have a look what exactly HTML is. Right? So as we have already saw that HTML is one of the fundamentals of the front-end development. Let's check some of the basics about HTML. Right, the first and foremost thing is its name, which HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Right, so we can also say it is the standard markup language for creating web pages. It describes the structure of a web page. It consists of series of tags. The tags tell the browser how to display the content. So if we'll see here, right, anything, any website or any web page that you're looking at, right, there is a part which is made from HTML. In HTML, what we do is we go ahead and provide different tags, and those tags tell the browser how to display the content. So when the browser read the HTML document, right, the browser read it from top to down and left to right approach. HTML tags are used to create HTML document and render their properties. Each HTML tag have different properties. If we'll see here, right, so every tag is enclosed within these brackets, right, and every HTML every tag in HTML performs different tasks, right, and if you have a open tag, right, the open tag is denoted like this is the syntax, and in the same there will be a paired closing tag as well. The closing tag actually have one thing in common, one thing extra, that is the slash, right. Any particular tag with slash denotes that it's a closing tag. So let's move on and look at the basic structure of HTML code, absolutely basic structure, right. This is the simple code, the simple basic structure that you will get on net, right. So moving forward, if you look, there are different kind of tags, right? So there is HTML, head, title, then body, h1, then there is a p, then closing tags, and so on. Let's understand what exactly these tag stands for, right? The first thing that we see, that is this, the doc type HTML. So basically what this tag declares or defines is that this document is written in HTML5, right? Moving forward, the HTML, it is the root element of HTML page. This particular tag actually denotes that now we are starting our code in HTML. Moving forward, the next tag is head, correct? So basically this tag contains the meta information about HTML page, correct? Moving forward, the third tag is title, right? So title specifies a title for the HTML page, which is shown in the browser's title bar or in the web in the pages tab, correct? Then there is a body tag, which defines the document's body and is a container for all the visible content such as headings, paragraphs, images, etc., all the elements, right? So anything that we want to show or display on our web page, we have to put that particular data into the body tag, right? So moving forward, the next tag is h1, right? So h1 stands for heading, right? This particular line will be shown in a bolder and a bigger way, right? And moving forward, the next tag is p, which defines a paragraph. Every time when we are actually making a new paragraph, we have to use this particular tag, right? So now this is the basic structure of web page, right? And if you have any particular doubts, right, not doubts but some questions related to any particular tag or anything, please feel free to put it into our chat or in our Discord server. And for the Discord servers and other links to our social media handles are given in the description below, right? So moving forward, let's go ahead and check the page structure of HTML, correct? So if you'll see, this is the HTML page structure. Right here you will see that there is a separate section. Actually every tag is actually divided into different sections, right? So this is the sample code. Also this is the structure of our HTML code. Okay, so now as we have understood the basic gists, what exactly HTML is, what a basic example how we code in HTML, right? So now let's move on to the next technology, which is CSS, correct? So if we'll talk about CSS, right, this is one of the basic technologies which is used in front-end development, right? So if we'll see, CSS actually stands for cascading style sheets, right? uh, if we'll say in a simpler word, it is a simple design language intended to simplify the process of making web pages presentable, correct? So also in more simpler words, we can say CSS describes how HTML elements to be displayed on any layout, whether it can be a browser, it can be on your mobile, it can be on any particular display, right? So here we can safely say that CSS is responsible for the display of each and every HTML element, right? So it can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once, right? So here if we'll see about the implementation, there are two ways in which we can implement a CSS script, right? Using a script tag in HTML document itself, right? Or we can use external sheets, and the file type for these sheets are .css, right? So while we are using the script tag to implement CSS, the whole implementation process is known as inline implementation, right? uh, and when we are using external sheets for the implementation, it is known as external implementation, right? However, keep in mind that the file type for external sheet of css is .css. Okay, so uh, let's understand why exactly we or our community created css, right? Why we need css when we have html? Correct, because whenever we are saying that have to display anything on web page, we use html. Then uh, why there was a need to create css as well? So if we'll check a older version of html, that is html 3.2 specifications, so at that time there was a tag which was font, right? There was a font tag, right, with which we have to add color attributes as well to display different type of fonts. So while making a larger project using the older html specification, uh, the project file or the whole process of making that project was becoming tedious. So instead of actually making large number of files or coding large number of lines, what our community came up with a new technology, which is actually segregating the font tag and the attributes. Now we can use our fonts separately, and what we can do is we can provide the attributes separately using css, right? So this was the scenario which actually made our community come up with a new technology, which is css. So now we have come up with css, right? But again, there were some limitations with css. That's why we came up with the next thing, that is the frameworks for css. So to understand this, let me share you one thing that I came across while I was reading some uh, blog or something. So there was a joke that the NASA has launched robots on Mars, and here we still struggling with center align our divs, right? So and it makes me feel bad that this joke has a lot of truth in it, right? Doing something that sounds as easy and common sense driven as creating a box within a box is incredibly difficult to work out in css unless you have encountered it before. Correct. So if you are new to css and if someone asks you to centerline some of the divs, it will be a challenging task for you. Correct. And save the code snippet somewhere, right? So you have to, even though if you have came up with this similar problem, again you have to keep the code snippet with you somewhere. And even if you manage to pull it off, there's always a fear that it might just break on some browser. So css ties for the first spot of necessary web technologies also with javascript. It's a standard that evolved randomly, we can say randomly, and also it was interpreted differently by different browsers manufacturers in initial time, and is now full of contradictions that nobody actually says that they are css experts. So these are some of the things, or these are the some of the issues that developers came across, and because of that css frameworks emerged over the time, right, and took most of the pain away. Because if we'll compare this particular css and css technologies that we are using today, they are far better, far easy to understand and learn, and also very easy to implement. Correct. So now there is some questions that we came across with, that is, how do you know your frameworks is the best for the job at hand? Say for an example, if you came across a project and you have to select a framework, how you're going to do that, right? The second most important question is, if you are like if you are a new developer, right, which framework should you pick to start with, right? To answer these questions, right, we are going to introduce 5 frameworks to you, so that next time when you have to choose a framework, you will have five, at least minimum 5 options that you can choose from, right? So moving forward here, let's uh, start or dive into the frameworks. The first framework that we are going to come up with, or we are going to understand, is Bootstrap, right? So if we'll say Bootstrap, it is the first framework that come up with the concept of responsive design on a large scale, right? It was also the first framework to promote a philosophy of mobile first. No so w- Initially, before this particular framework, what we have to do is we have to make a project separately for larger screen, that is desktop or laptops, and then we have to. Is it good now? Okay, so sorry for that. So what we were talking about was Bootstrap, right? So as we have understood that it was the first framework that come up with the idea of responsive design on a larger scale, also with the philosophy of mobile first. So no longer was designing a smaller screen size a separate project in itself now, right? Bootstrap given us a very good space, very good platform to work on both the bigger screen displays as well as on smaller screen. So all you need to do was to include the relevant Bootstrap classes, right? And the design would automatically adjust for different screen size. So here we don't have to write a separate program or separate make a separate project for smaller screen like mobiles or laptops, right? Using these particular frameworks, what we can do is actually they provide us a very good flexible environment where we can directly make the project for both bigger screen or larger screen and smaller screen. So moving forward, when Bootstrap actually achieved the response design by introducing the idea of grid, right? So this was the main component of Bootstrap that actually made this particular framework to achieve the first and important thing, that is responsive design. So grid is nothing, it is an invisible partition of screen into column along with the width. Say for an example, if you have 3 boxes, you have to position them side by side on a larger screen and vertically on smaller screen, right? So this can easily be done using a simple class which is known as container class, right? So this is so simple uh, by using a new framework that has been introduced to us, correct? So moving forward, the current version of Bootstrap is 5, right, which owes a lot of its elegance to the raw power of Flexbox and other modern layout features supported by browsers directly, right? So the this was the basic gist what exactly Bootstrap can do, right? Bootstrap in itself is a very vast field, right? You one have to understand and work around and experiment with this particular framework to get a good grip out of it. However, let's check why we like Bootstrap, right? So there are certain points that we are going to discuss, right? So these are the advantages that Bootstrap provides us, right? First and foremost thing is rapid prototyping, right? So with Bootstrap, there's almost no need to spend uh, on a tricky CSS positioning and browser incompatibilities, because as we know, because of the grid, it has a responsive design, and according to the browser and device shape and size, it is going to rearrange and align the web page directly. So all you need to do here is that write out the HTML and then applying the appropriate CSS class, right, cause the responsiveness to come alive. That's that simple, right? So moving to the second thing, as this was the first, we can say first framework, right? So for because of that, it has a large ecosystem. So Bootstrap has the largest ecosystem among the front-end framework, and the number of websites, layout, themes, admin panels, UI components, etc. built using Bootstrap in a very good way, right? And it keeps getting better and better because the ecosystem is actually growing day by day, right? So for if, if we'll say for consultant and product companies alike, this means pre-built items and community support will always be plenty, right? So that is why maximum of the developers or the people who have just came into the world of what say web development or front end development, they come across this particular framework, right? Because as we know that there is a larger ecosystem, and also there are n number of pre-built component as well. One more thing, that this particular framework is backed by Twitter. So because of the Twitter community, right, the ecosystem of this particular framework is growing as well, right? So when we move forward, we can say that it has a large collection of components, right? There actually Bootstrap offers out of the box almost all the UI components you will ever likely to need. You can say navigation, forms, cards, models, buttons, badges, etc. You name it, and Bootstrap will provide that. So that way, what Bootstrap do is it helps the developer and also make developers life very easy, right? The last but not the least advantage is there is something known as less, right? And also SAS, and it supports both of them. So among the massively popular CSS framework, Bootstrap is the only one that support both less and SAS, right? So these are the advantages that you can explore while learning and implementing Bootstrap. However, when we say advantages, right, we do know that there is nothing without a price. So Bootstrap is also not any exception. So over the time, what Bootstrap has came under heavy fire, right, by designers and UI experts, and they came up with 2 points, right? Those 2 points are actually called as disadvantages for Bootstrap, right? Those 2 points are UX monotony, right? So when we say UX monotony, so what we say is as Bootstrap has such large number of built-in results or built-in components. So while we use those components, what we are doing is we are making websites that are familiar in looks and feels, right? So because of that, the there is a user experience monotony. Moving to second thing, that is styling woes, right? So uh, in this, what we can say is it has ideas about layouts, right, and which make you work extra hard. uh, if you want to actually work around with these particular layouts, what and you want to make these layouts to work in a different way, right? So this makes Bootstrap a bit complex framework or complex workflow to work around with, right? However, these are the only two disadvantages that we came across while working with Bootstrap. So if you want to like learn about Bootstrap or any particular web development technologies, whether it's front end or whether it's back end or whether it's a full stack, what you can do is you can actually join us on our Discord channel, right, where we actually discuss and explore these particular technologies on a daily basis. Apart from that, also you can join us our online classes or online training courses, and those training courses are available on our website. You can check the links in the description below, right? So moving forward, as we have discussed, like first framework, that is Bootstrap, there are different frameworks as well, right? The second framework that we are going to understand or discuss about is Foundation, right? So this is the second uh, framework that we are going to discuss. However, when we say Foundation is one of the best frameworks that you can come across with while working in front end development, right? So let's take a look. So here what we can say is this particular framework is the most advanced responsive front end framework, right? So uh, why we say that, right? Why we say that it's the most advanced? Because it provide us n number of tools, right, and also n number of pre-built components with which we can work around with, right? Moving on, so this particular framework was initially designed to actually used, or what we can say, go naturally with the Rails framework, and also there are and also several of the Rails uh, guiding principles, right? So as we compare to the earlier Bootstrap version, we found this very intuitive and easy to understand. So no more like grid things. You don't have to actually use mathematics while calculating and dividing the grids. While Foundation is much less popular than Bootstrap, uh, still this particular framework is much more easier to understand and much more easier to work around with, right? So moving forward, if we'll see, Foundation has some unusual characteristic out of the CSS framework, as we are going to see those particular characteristics, and those characteristics also build up the advantage points for our Foundation framework, right? So first thing is full tooling, right? If we'll to explain this particular point, what we can say is actually Foundation give us a large and modular collections of tools that aims to solve almost all kind of front end problems. There are separate frameworks offering for website and email, heavily optimized for their respective domains. Also, Foundation come with a command line interface as well, which will sound like uh, music to your ears, right? Because while working with Webpack or other module bundlers, correct? Moving forward, it's extremely flexible. So, unlike Bootstrap, Foundation was built to give the front end developer full control over their UIs. As a result, Foundation will feel bland and complex to the newcomer. However, the reason is that Foundation doesn't support any style language on you, but aims to be just what it is, an excellent CSS framework, right? So to understand this, because of the different type of tools that this framework provides, because of that, it can be it is extremely flexible, but for the beginners it can be bit complex to understand, correct? Moving forward, it's not just the UI component, it provides more. While Foundation has the usual collection of UI element, it goes much beyond, right? The developer have included an advanced responsive image system, a pricing table component, etc., right, to come up with different type of components. So here what I would like to emphasize again, that this is an overkill for most simple website, but for large ones it's a boon the experienced developer will recognize. Correct. Moving forward, the training and consulting, however, this particular framework is new, it's easy to understand, but still the foundation or the company behind this particular framework, that's ZERB, it's actually providing training courses and professional consulting are on a very large scale for customers as well as the companies. However, the catch is uh, if it comes with a great cost, because the training and consulting for this particular framework are costly. So here, if we say that these are the advantages of this particular framework, right? Moving forward, let's check out some of the disadvantages, because as we have seen earlier, every system has some pros and cons, correct? So moving forward with the foundation disadvantages, as it's new, right? The foundation community is very smaller as compared to that of bootstrap, right? Moving forward, uh, foundation is also complex in certain way, right? When we are working around with the tools or the components that foundation is providing us, correct? And also, as we have discussed earlier, it gives us n number of options while working around with any particular project. At some times it can be like frustrating for us to choose from many options that we have, right? Apart from that, the last disadvantage is talent availability. As we have seen, it has smaller community as compared to other frameworks. Similarly, as the community is smaller, the talents available in the market are very less. So this was the basic understanding that what exactly foundation is, what are the advantages that we can see and understand, and apart from that we have also seen the disadvantages of this particular framework, that is foundation. So moving forward to the third framework, that is Bulma, right? If we see, Bulma is also relatively very new to the market, right? uh, so when we say it's new, however, right, it had made a huge name in a very short time. Its attractiveness actually lies in a strict CSS only approach. So when we say CSS only approach, there are no JavaScript components, and the elegant parts or the components are by default present, which is something many developers with a good eye for design have a problem with when working with Bootstrap. So there are some options that we have here, right, with Bulma, which are not available with Bootstrap, or we can say Foundation. So moving forward here, when we say Bulma actually have a high rate of adoption with the Laravel community. So when we say Laravel, it is one of the framework uh, of PHP, correct? So moving forward, as it was like designed in such a way that it should be working alongside with Laravel, the community for Bulma is big, right? So moving forward, there are some reasons that we like Bulma and use it for our projects, right? So let's check what are those particular reasons or advantages of Bulma, right? It's quite popular, right? If we'll say actually it's not more popular than Bootstrap, but it is more popular than Foundation. As of writing, Bulma has many stars on GitHub, and also the number of GitHub star is no matrix for merit, but it does say that the community approves of Bulma. Correct. Apart from that, it is extremely readable classes, right? So the most readable CSS class of all the frameworks I have tried is Bulma, right? There are also a powerful and simple system for creating metro style grid called tile. So here, when we talk about Bulma, we don't have to actually work around with grids, but on the other hand, what we have to do is we are creating a metro style grid, which is also known as tiles, right? So moving forward, when we say about when we talk about learning Bulma, right, it's it's actually Bulma is highly modular and was created to solve the practical and everyday problem that smaller team and individual developer come across. So you will find that Bulma is very easy to learn and understand. Though I think that a decent background in CSS is always good to have while learning Bulma, right? Apart from that, when we say elegant, right? So here we can go ahead and check the default section of Bulma, right? Or the website of Bulma. You will see that each and everything, right? Each and every component is designed in such a good manner that you will feel that this particular framework will help you to create an elegant website, right? So however, uh, when these were the advantages that you should understand and explore while learning Bulma. However, there are some disadvantages as well, right? So we'll go ahead and check those disadvantages, right? So there are only two. One is smaller community, correct? So as we have understood that Bulma is a very new framework, right? However, the because of that, the community for Bulma is very small, but the community is very active. If you'll go ahead and interact with the community, right, you will feel that you can work with the community very easily. Moving forward, the second thing is, when we talk about Bulma, it is still in a development phase, right? It is not yet been saturated, right? It's so developers are still working on this particular framework. So these are the two disadvantages that we came across with while understanding Bulma. So yeah, so now we have understood like three frameworks, right? Bootstrap, Foundation, and Bulma. So if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to put your questions in chat or Discord. The link is given in the description. Moving forward here, the next technology or the next framework that we are going to discuss is UIKit, right? So UIKit also is one of the best CSS framework that has been updated by the CSS community, right? Let us check why every developer is calling UIKit the best framework. This framework is absolutely lightweight. It is open source and modular front-end framework for developing fast and powerful web interfaces, right? Also, it is very simple to learn and is used to build user interfaces for iOS and Android based web applications. It includes all necessary elements such as label, button, table, views, etc. Right? There are several ready to use themes available, and you can implement them by modifying the relevant SAS or LESS file. So this was the basic just what exactly UIKit is. It is lightweight, right? It's open source. Also, it's a modular framework. So while working around with it, it will be very easy for a developer, right, to make a project out of it. Apart from that, basically this particular framework was built to interface with iOS and Android based web applications. And also we have understood that it is giving us n number of pre-built components, right? So moving forward, let's check out some of the advantages and disadvantages for the framework as well, right? So moving on to the advantages. So when we say complete GUI based, so complete GUI is a critical factor which makes the developer choose UI kit, because as we have seen earlier that this framework provides us pre-built components, right? And on top of that, all those particular components are GUI based, right? Moving forward, it is a comprehensive collection of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript component that that are simple to use, extendable, and customizable. So this particular framework uses the collections from HTML, CSS, and JavaScripts, right? So when we are working around with these components, that makes this framework extendable and customizable. Also, it has a small collection of responsive components having a conflict-free and consistent naming convention, which helps a developer to make his code on a better pace. Moving forward, it is developed using less, which makes it well structured and easily maintainable, right? And the last thing is it is modular and gives flexibility for reusing and refining component without disturbing the website overall aesthetic or front end. So moving forward here, we will be looking at some of the disadvantages of this particular framework, correct? So moving forward, so as we know that this particular framework is very new, so again the same thing, the development community is very small, right? And sometimes it can be complex to work with due to its nested class and modular structure. So these are the two basic disadvantages that we came across with while understanding UIKit framework. Moving forward, we'll be discussing the next framework, that is semantic UI, right? This is also a framework, a CSS framework, right? And it is similar to that of Bootstrap. However, the difference between Bootstrap and semantic UIs are the themes and the customizations that this particular framework provides us, right? So if we say that we can say that there are more than 3000 theming variable, which results in massive breadths. So here we can also see that the framework utilizes concise HTML, intuitive JavaScript, and signified debugging that makes a front-end development a fun and an easy experience. So as we understood that semantic UI also uses HTML and JavaScript, and also it is providing us a simplified debugging method, right? So it's making our life very easy while developing a project. Moving forward, it integrates with n number of JavaScript frameworks to help organize UI layers alongside with application logic, right? So here what we can say is semantic UI is easy to understand because it's providing us different type of customizing components. Apart from that, it is also using HTML, JavaScript, and providing a simplified debugging environment. And also it can be integrated with many JavaScript frameworks. So when we can integrate this particular framework, that is semantic UI, with JavaScript, what it is providing us is it helps us organize the UI layer alongside with the application logic, right? So I do feel that you guys are understanding what exactly we are trying to tell you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put it into the chat or join in into the Discord channel. Okay, and the link for the Discord channel is given in the description below. Moving forward, let's check some of the advantages that semantic UI provides us, right? So first and foremost thing, it's very lightweight, right? As it is powered by less and jQuery, it has a sleek, subtle and flat design look that provides a lightweight user experience, right? uh, Moving forward, it is easy to start with due to the semantic nature. Beginner can quickly grasp the classes and convention names, right? Also, the file or build size can be reduced by choosing only the required component from the final project framework. Also, it has a high level of customization and it is very well documented. The last but not the least, it has an incredible pre-built design and modern template which suffice mostly all the general requirement a developer might have for the front-end design. So these are some of the advantages that semantic UI provides us. Moving forward, let's discuss some of the drawbacks of this framework, right? So when we talk about disadvantages, right, uh, many of its free features are JS dependent. So the developer needs to have a good familiarity with JS to solve issues. Secondly, as we know that semantic UI provides us pre-built components, right? So if a user tries to use many component from the semantic UI, the project size may increase, right? And compatibility issues might come on, correct? So these are the two things, the two disadvantages that semantic UI actually we feel that semantic UI has while working around with it. Now we actually have seen or understood the basic of five of the frameworks that CSS provides us, right? So now moving forward, let's understand some details about JavaScript. Okay, so moving forward to the next technology, that is JavaScript. So before moving on to JavaScript, guys, do you have any questions for me? Please feel free to put it into chat so that I can reply. Okay, so moving forward, JavaScript is the most powerful and flexible programming language of the web, right? It powers the dynamic behavior of most website, also known as programming language of or for the web, right? We can say that it is a cross-platform object-oriented scripting language used to make web pages interactive. So that means that uh, JavaScript is actually used to provide functionality to the web pages. Say, for an example, having a complex animation, clickable button, pop up, menu, etc. Right? Also, there are advanced server side versions of JavaScript, such as Node.js, right, which allows you to add more functionality to a website than downloading files, such as real-time collaboration between multiple computers inside a host environment. For example, a web browser, JavaScript can be connected to object of its environment to provide pragmatic control over them. So uh, this actually explains us that JavaScript can be used on both client side and server side, because there are some of the version of JavaScripts like Node.js which we actually use on a server side of web development. So moving forward, if we'll see here, JavaScript is standardized at ECMA International. So ECMA here stands for European Association for Standardizing Information and Communication System. So, to deliver a standardized international programming language based on JavaScript. So, what exactly this particular institution do is it standardized JavaScript. Why? Because in earlier days, every particular developer or vendor for a specific web browser uses his own way or to code, right? So if we are going to make a new project, we have to code the same project in different type or different style so that the project can run on every browsers. But now when these things are standardized, we don't face these kind of problems, right? So this standardized version of JavaScript is called as ECMAScript, correct? So it behaves the same way in all application that supports the standard. Companies can use the open standard language to develop their implementation of JavaScript, correct? Moving forward, let's see how we can start working around with JavaScript, correct? So here what we need a modern web browser, that's it, like Firefox or Chrome. So in these particular modern web browser, what we get is a web console tool, right? So which is used for experimenting with JavaScript. You can use it in two modes, right? So if we'll see, there are two input modes, one is single line and other one is multi-line. So these are the input modes, right, in which we can use our web console, right? And using web console we can experiment with JavaScript. Moving forward, let's check how we can use JavaScript in HTML, correct? So you can place any number of scripts in HTML document, right? While understanding about HTML, we saw that how we use the script tag, correct? So here script can be placed in body tag or in head tag section of an HTML page, or in both. Or script can also be placed in external files, correct? So here we can use script tag, right, to use an inline implementation of JavaScript similar to that of CSS, correct? Secondly, we can use the external script, right, with a file extension of .js. So this is the syntax to use the JavaScript or external script into your HTML document or HTML code, correct? So let's understand about the external script. Why do we use external script, correct? So first thing is it separates HTML code and the JavaScript code, and it makes it easier for us to understand, right? If we come across some error, it will be very easy for us to rectify that error if we have HTML and JavaScript code separately. Apart from that, it makes HTML and JavaScript easier to read and maintain, as I have explained just right now. On top of that, cached JavaScript file can speed up the page loading. So these are the three basic pointers that we keep in mind, and we use the external script. Okay, so moving forward, we got an gist that what exactly JavaScript is, why do we use it. We haven't seen how do we use it or how do we code it. Certainly we will be making in the coming time. So right now we got a good understanding that why JavaScript is important and how to get started, right? So moving forward, let's check the frameworks that JavaScript provide us. Okay, so moving forward, the first JavaScript framework that we are going to discuss is React.js. Okay, so when we talk about React.js, it is one of the most popular front-end framework, right? However, we call it a framework, but it is a JavaScript based library which is featuring JSX syntax, which and also it was developed by Facebook, right? And it was developed and introduced in 2011, and in 2013 it became open source library, right? So moving forward, the key features of this particular library, or we can say framework, is the virtual DOM, right? DOM or document object model with one-way data binding, right? This is the key feature that React provides us. So owing to the virtual DOM functionality, React is praised for its superior performance and considered to be one of the easiest framework to learn, right? So when we talk about virtual DOM and one-way data binding, what it does is it make this framework easier to understand and easier to work around with. Apart from that, it also provides a higher or superior performance, right? Moving forward, its user friendliness and comfortable learning curve make it good choice for beginners or less experienced developers. Since React is a library, unlike other framework, it does not maintain some important features. That's why React is meant to work together with other libraries. So uh, here what we can say is, as we have seen, it's a library, right? So there are certain functionalities that, or certain features that React do not provide us, but what React provide us a very important feature is that uh, it can work together with different libraries, right? And while using different libraries, it's easy for a developer to come up with or solve a uh, complex question, right? Okay, so when we say more features about features that React provides us, they are like state management, routing, interaction with API. So these are some of the features that React provides us. This front end framework is the right choice if you want to save some time on developing an interactive interface, since React components are reusable. So here what we can say is that while we are working with React, we can code it once, right? And we can use the same code and components again and again just by modifying them. We don't have to start every time from scratch, correct? So moving forward, let's see some of the advantages that we have when we work around with React. So first and foremost thing, as we know that Facebook is the mm, organization which developed this framework, right? So as this particular framework is backed by Facebook, also it is frequently updated. Apart from that, it provide us virtual DOM, right? As we have discussed. So because of that, the speed operation is very high, right? It can be combined with many other libraries, many other JavaScript libraries, right? And also it allows components without classes, correct? Apart from that, it is very easy to migrate between different versions, right? So say if you are working around with an older version of React, and now you are you want to move your project to a newer version, it will be very easy to migrate from older version to a newer version. Also we know that it provide reusable code components, right? So which make it very easier to work around with. Apart from that, we also know that it is very good for beginners to learn, okay? So now we understood what exactly React is, right? Who made it, and we also checked the advantages that React provide us. So now let's see when to use React, right? So because of its virtual DOM capability, React is the best option for complex project including a considerable number of blocks. that goes through variable binary states such as active, inactive, expanded, collapsed, active, disabled, etc. So here we can say that when we have complex project in hand, right, to make them, what we can do is we can use React very easily, right? So now let's check some of the website which uses React, right? So you can say that Facebook, Netflix, Airbnb, and there are more other organizations and websites that use this framework, correct? So now we have understood or got the gist about JavaScript, also React. So I'll ask this again, that if you have any questions or any particular thing that you want to ask related to this technology or any technology, please write, make sure that you put it into the chat so that I can answer you. So moving forward, here the next technology or the next framework that we are going to discuss is AngularJS, correct? So when we are discussing about AngularJS, uh, AngularJS is an improved, actually it's TypeScript based, right, as we can see here. Right, so JS, right? So here we can say that it is a modern TypeScript based open source framework and one of the most popular software development tools nowadays. If we'll talk about the numbers, more than 600k websites were developed with the help of AngularJS. Being a part of JavaScript ecosystem, it was it was first presented by Google in 2009, and from there it's gaining its popularity in development community, correct? Apart from that, the release time when it was actually released, it was 2016, right? Moving forward, we can see that it provide us two-way data binding, correct? Apart from when we say two-way data binding, why this two-way data binding is important, right? So basically it provides us immediate synchronization between the model and the view. So any changes in the view, if you go ahead and make any changes in view, instantly those changes will be reflected in the model, and in the reverse, and the reverse is also true. Moving forward, Angular features directives that allows developers to program special behavior of DOM, making it possible to create rich and dynamic HTML content. Angular has a hierarchical dependency injection function. So this is a special function that Angular has, which makes the code component highly testable, reusable, and easier to control. It helps to define code dependency as external element, decoupling component from their dependencies. So I do understand while explaining AngularJS, there are certain technical terminologies that we have used or I have used, right? If you feel like you didn't understood, please feel free to ask here in chat, or what you can do is you can jump into our Discord server and you can ask your questions there as well, correct? Moving forward, let's check some of the advantages of AngularJS, right? First and foremost thing is it is backed by Google, right? Apart from that, it has component based architecture and also two-way data binding. Moving forward, the directives and dependency function feature, right, which makes it highly testable, reusable, and manageable application. Apart from that, because of the two-way data binding, it provides improved server performance. Also, as it is backed by Google, it has a very good community, right? And also very good training material. So moving forward, let's see when exactly to use Angular, right? So Angular is all said to be the optimal framework for creating large enterprise scale application. Many of the Google services are developed with Angular. Other popular brands using Angular are Forbes, Lego, BMW, and many more. So here we have understood what exactly Angular is, right? Why we choose Angular, right? And when to use Angular. So moving forward, we will be discussing next framework, which is Vue.js, right? So when we talk about Vue.js, it is a progressive framework for building user interface. So this is the what I can say, the simplest textbook definition for Vue.js. However, unlike other monolithic framework, Vue is designed from the ground up to be incrementally adaptable. The core library is focused on Vue layer only. So when we are talking about the front end, what we and using Vue, the core libraries are actually focused only on Vue layers, and it is easy to pick up and integrate with other libraries or existing projects. On the other hand, Vue is also perfectly capable of powering sophisticated single page application when used in combination with modern tooling and supporting libraries. So this is the basic or the core concept of Vue.js, right? As we have understood, it is progressive framework, also mainly used with other libraries and tools, and also it can using Vue we can go ahead and make sophisticated single page application. Moving forward, Vue features virtual DOM, right? Component based architecture and two-way binding, which underlines its high speed performance, all that makes it easier to update related I'm so sorry all that makes it easier to update related components and track data changes, which is desired for any application in which real time updates are a must. Developers that opt for Vue.js can benefit from its small size in comparison to React and other framework. The main idea behind the Vue development is to deliver a much simpler concept that one of the Angular. That's why Vue is considered to be one of the beginner friendly framework, coming with well elaborated documentation and supportive community. Apart from that, Vue has an extensive choice of tools such as an end-to-end testing tools, plugin installation system, browser debugging tool, server rendering, state manager, and others. There are different other tools as well. So this was the basic gist that what exactly Vue.js is. Right, now let's see what are the advantages of Vue. Correct. So first and foremost thing, it is very tiny, and because it's very tiny and lightweight, it's very fast, right? Providing the community and the documentation, it is beginner friendly, and the documentation is very easy to understand and very detailed. Apart from that, it the syntax is very simple, right? uh, Also it provide two-way data binding, and also the last not the least and very important advantage that Vue provide is it has a positive effect on SEO. So we can also understand this particular framework in terms of SEO as well, right? So moving forward, let's see when it can be used, right? So it can be one of the best option when you need to build a single page application from the very beginner or launch a relatively small project. Vue easily integrate with existing server pages and support developer with webpack integration and a wide range of powerful feature such as tree shaking, bundling, code splitting, etc. Let's check which brands are using Vue. So Vue, some of the websites which use Vue are Alibaba, Xiaomi, and there are many other as well, right? So moving forward here, the next framework is Ember.js, right? So when we say Ember.js, it is a MVVM framework, open source JavaScript web framework, which is released in 2011 and has gained a considerable level of popularity since then. This framework is considered to be pretty stable and seamlessly working for different needs, right? So here we can here Ember provides two-way data binding, synchronizing the view and the model in real time. It's known for speedy server-side rendering. So there is a tool, or we can say there is a library which is used here for the speedy server-side rendering, which is fastboot.js. So Ember comes with large ecosystem as well, while advanced use of template allows developer to reduce coding. It has a lot of powerful features and component available right from the start, including its own routing and testing tool. But if you need more, there are a lot of plugins and additional useful stuff maintained by the community. So basically the every tool and also the libraries which are used with Ember, it's all those things are maintained by its own community, right? So it's very easy to work around with Ember, and also it's easy to understand as well, right? So moving forward here, let's see some of the advantages, right? So first and foremost thing is the server side rendering, as Ember provides a efficient way and very speedy way for server side rendering using a special library which is known as fastboot.js. So apart from that, as the community is larger, it has a consistent documentation, correct? And also it provides us native testing and debugging tool. Also it has a very well organized community, and the thing is Ember actually supports both JavaScript and TypeScript, right? So these are some of the advantages that you have to explore in order to understand the usage of Ember and implementation as well. So moving forward, let's see when to use Ember, right? So owing to its component architecture, Ember can be ideal choice for creating a complex and feature rich single page web application for the client side or mobile application, right? So whenever we are working on a project which is complex and feature rich, and also it's like on client side or mobile app, we can use Ember and it will provide us very good results. Apart from that, there are some websites that are using this framework. Those are Apple Music, Tinder, LinkedIn, and others as well. So moving forward here, we will be discussing the last framework, that is Backbone.js, correct? So moving forward, it is a free open source JavaScript library developed in 2010. It is available to use under MIT software license. So Backbone.js follows a MVC and MVP development concept. It encourages you to translate your idea into model, DOM manipulation into view, and bind them together via event. So in other words, it presents your data as a model that can be created, validated, eliminated, and saved saved to the server, right? Apart from that, it also provide very rich line of APIs, right? So basically Backbone.js provides collection of rich API to functions of assembling the client-side web application, declarative event handling of views, and let you connect it all with your existing API via RESTful JSON interface. So these are some of the basic understanding of Backbone JS, that what exactly it is, how which development concept it works around with, which are the basic features that Backbone provides, right? So moving forward, let's check about the advantages that Backbone provides, right? So it is very extensible, more than 100 available extensions, right? It's very beginner friendly as it's new, not new, however the community is good. Apart from that, it's very small in size, about 7.6 kb when minified or zipped, right? Well organized community, and also store data in model instead of DOM. So these are some of the advantages that Backbone provides us, right? Moving forward, let's check when to use Backbone. So Backbone is a good choice for building single page, small and simple web app. However, it can come very handy when working with bigger project, as it helps to keep an app logic separated from UI, and also avoid spaghetti code model, and thus let you maintain a better design with less code. Correct? So moving forward, there are some of the websites that use Backbone. So they are Trello, Uber, and also Pinterest as well. Reddit as well uses Backbone. So yeah, these are some of the websites that uses Backbone. So till now we have discussed about front end technologies and frameworks, right? And I do think that you guys have got gist about these technologies, what exactly they are, and where to use it, how to use it, and what are the advantages, right? So moving forward, let's see some tools, right? We are going to talk about two tools or two editors, text editors, right? So those text editors are Atom and VS Code. So when we talk about these two, right, basically Visual Studio Code and Atom are actually based on same technology, right? The both the editors uses Electron, which lets developer create full-fledged desktop application with web technologies like JavaScript, HTML, CSS, etc. So and both of them are open source, right? So moving forward, let's see some of the pointers of these particular editors, right? So first we'll discuss Atom. Atom is open source. It is developed by GitHub, right? And it was developed and released in 2014. Apart from that, Atom is described as a hackable text editor for 21st century, right? So these are some of the basic things, right? Moving forward, let's see some of the main features, right, that we found are very important to discuss about, right? So first and foremost thing is packages. So with Atom, there are more than 6,000 packages and themes available, right, in the market, and that too for free. And you can go ahead and explore all those packages and themes. Apart from that, when we are talking about the editing and workflow, right, so it's very easy. It provides us n number of options, right? Whether it's drag and drop of file support, or it comes with the auto intelligence, or integration with different platforms. So as Atom was developed by GitHub, it has a very good and smooth Git integration, right? Moving forward, when we talk about customization, as we have understood about the packages and themes, right, we have seen that there are large number of packages and theme available. We can go ahead and download those packages or themes and customize the whole look and feel of our text editor. Correct? Moving forward to the last pointer, that is performance, right? So when it comes to performance, there we found there are some lag, right? At initial time there was some lag while we are working in multi tab environment. However, many of those particular lags have been dealt with. However, the the transition from one tab to other is still bit laggy, right? So these are the basic features, advantages and disadvantages of Atom that we came across with, right? So moving forward, the next thing is VS Code. So again, VS Code is also open source. It was developed by Microsoft, right? It is pretty powerful as compared to Atom, right? And as we have discussed or talked about, that it was developed by Microsoft and it was released in April 2015. It's very new text editor in the market. However, still it is one of the best text editor present in market for developers, right? Moving forward, let's check some of the features, right? Again, when we talk about the features, these are the features, right? So first and foremost thing is package. So if you have worked around with uh, VS Code, you have already seen that there are n number of extensions available, using which we can go ahead and modify the look and feel of our text editor. It also provides us packages respective to different languages and different technologies that we are using with. Correct. Moving forward, editing and workflow. Uh, as we have already discussed about packages, they do provide certain extensions and packages that helps us in editing the text and the workflow of the whole project, right? Similarly, coming to the customization, like the previously as we have understood, right, that about the packages, right, we do get n number of packages related to customization, whether it's theme, whether it's font size, font themes, or related to anything, right? So we can customize VS Code to the core. When it comes to performance, right, so VS Code is actually based on Electron, right? However, it is built on Node.js, HTML and CSS, right? So the workflow and the performance of VS Code compared to Atom is very fast, very smooth, right? Which make developers life very easy, right? So I do understand that you guys have got good understanding of the tools and frameworks that are used for front end development, right? So if you have any questions, any doubts, or any particular thing that you think that the topic should be included in our webinar, do let us know in the Discord. The link of Discord channel is given in the description below, right? And for exploring these or other web technologies more, I would advise you to join in our community on Discord, where you will get updates and guidance from the professionals who are working in this domain. Also, to master these particular technologies, you can join in or to our online training, where we provide you in-depth practical knowledge to help you build projects. To know more about the training, please visit our website, or you can drop into our Discord channel as well. So I do understand you these particular information. You got a good gist about the web development, not web development but front end development, the technologies that we use around, how to use around, right? So yeah, thank you for joining in for today's session. Thank you.